I'm Mali. Today I'm showing you how to sew the super cute ruffle tote bag, the Niki Bag. I'll walk you through every step, and if you want to follow along, the PDF pattern is linked in the description. Start by gathering all materials and cut out all fabric pieces. Next we're gonna round the bottom corners. To do that, mark 2.5 centimeters from each bottom edge and use a circular object like a cup to draw a rounded corner. Then cut along the curve. Now grab the fabric pieces for the handles, fold each strap in half lengthwise, right sides together, wrong sides facing you. Sew along the long edge with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now we're going to use a safety pin to turn the tube inside out. Make sure you have a strong safety pin so it doesn't snatch open. And finally, press flat with an iron. Now let's move on to the ruffles. If your fabric isn't long enough for the full ruffle strip, simply cut 2 or 3 shorter pieces and sew them together. Fold the ruffle strip in half lengthwise, right sides together, wrong sides facing you. Then just sew the short ends together and turn it right side out. One way to make the ruffles is to use a hand needle and thread and sew a loose running stitch about 1 centimeter away from the raw edge on your ruffle strip. This definitely takes longer, but may be easier in the beginning. The faster method is to set your stitch length to the longest and increase your upper thread tension until the fabric starts to gather as you sew. I recommend testing it on a scrap piece first, since tension settings can vary between machines. Now let's assemble the outer bag. To do that, mark 2 centimeters down from the top edge on both sides on each outer piece. This is where the ruffle should stop. Pin the ruffle around the outer panel, right side facing up, and make sure the gathers are evenly distributed and the raw edge of the ruffle aligns with the edge of the panel. Now sew around the sides and bottom in a U shape with half centimeter seam allowance to attach the ruffle. I know this part can feel a little bit tricky, but after that everything else is gonna feel a lot easier. Use your seam ripper to remove any of the visible previous stitches. You won't need them anymore at this point. Place the second outer panel on top, right sides together. And sew around the same U shape again with 1 cm seam allowance to enclose the ruffle, avoiding any overlap. To add the inner pocket, place the 2 pocket pieces right sides together and sew around all 4 sides, leaving a 5 cm gap on one side. Trim the corners and turn the pocket right side out. Now press it flat and fold in the fabric at the opening. Sew the opening closed with a narrow top stitch or invisible ladder stitch. Top stitch the pocket onto the right side of the lining piece, sewing around the sides and bottom with a 2 to 3 mm seam allowance. Just make sure to leave the top open. Optionally, you can sew a vertical line down the center to create 2 pockets. To assemble the lining, pin the straps in place on the right side of each lining panel. Position them where you'd like your handles to sit. Typically, that's about 8 to 10 centimeters from each side. Now, baste or lightly sew the straps in place. Place the 2 lining pieces right sides together and sew around the sides and bottom, leaving a 10 cm gap at the bottom for turning. Now comes the fun part. We're gonna turn the outer bag right side out and keep the lining wrong side out. Next, we're going to insert the outer bag into the lining. So right side is facing right side. Match up the top edges and side seams. Pin and sew around the top edge. Now, pull the bag through the 10 cm gap at the bottom of the lining to turn everything right side out. Make sure to sew the gap in the lining closed with a narrow top stitch or ladder stitch. Finally, top stitch all the way around the top with 1/2 centimeter seam allowance for a clean, finished look. I would love to see your Niki bag, so please tag me on Instagram at here to fill your cup. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.